Does not affect the fast. Read Bismillah. Loud. Come closer. أنا أبدي بسائر الباب تعني شق الباب. But Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala says, I could see through a crack in the door the grief on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فأتاه رجل, a person came to him فقال إن نساء جعفر. He said the women folk of Ja'far وذكر بكاءهن, and he mentioned that they were crying. In all probability, it seems like they were crying uncontrollably. An Islamic one, the one of Ayyam Jahiliyyah, right? فأمره أن ينهاهن. نهى ينهى نهى ينهى to prohibit أن ينهاهن. So he instructed them. يعني he instructed this man that go and tell him they shouldn't cry this crying of Jahiliyyah. Sheikh, you finish, you're going to bring that kit out from the steel cupboard, ne? It's the steel cupboard, sort it out. Right. فأمره أن ينهاهن فذهب. So this person went. ثم أتى الثانية. So he went, right, for a second time. Sorry, right. لم يطعنه. This is جمع مؤنث. لم يطعنه. They did not obey him. فقال إنهاهن. نهى ينهى إنها. It's a أمر, ne? The حرف إلا drops off, and هن is a مفعول. It's a ضمير متصل, ne? إنهاهن. You got it, ne? Go and prohibit them from doing this. In all probability, they were crying the crying of Jahiliyyah, because obviously the natural soft, uh, natural crying, that obviously you don't have control of that natural grief, right? فأتاه الثالثة. He went to them for the third times. قال والله غلبنا. غلبنا is جمع مؤنث, right? And na is a maf'ul. They've overpowered me, Ya Rasulullah. In other words, they're not listening to what I'm telling them, right? They're not listening that they shouldn't cry like this, right? فزعمت أن قال, then she, I think she said, فحسوا في أفواههن التراب. Sprinkle in their mouths sand, right? فقلت, as Aisha said, أرغم الله أنفك. May Allah Ta'ala make your nose sandy. لم تفعل ما أمرك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. You did not do what Rasul told you. ولم تترك رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من الأناء, and you did not leave Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the inconveniencing. Okay, two, three things here. Pretty simple. If you look at the base level of the hadith, one is the Ghazwa Mutaneh. I told you it was a battle with the Romans. First, Hazrat Zayd ibn Haritha fell, became Shaheed. Then Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha was made Shaheed. And Allah Ta'ala had shown this to Nabi Sallallahu from Masjid al-Nabawi. He removed all the pardas, all the kashifat, so you could see what was happening. Sa'ir al-Babi, it could be like a pattern in the door or something through which, you know, sometimes you get a pattern, a crack. I told you, it appears as though that the women folk of Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they were crying the cry of Jahiliyyah, because that is the one that's mazmoom. They were exceeding the bounds of Shariat. That is why Nabi Sallallahu said, go and stop them. Because if it was within the bounds of Sharia, Nabi Sallallahu wouldn't say stop them, right? So as Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha was getting annoyed with this person. Why she was getting annoyed with this person? That look here, you are giving Nabi Sallallahu this information every time. You say these people are crying. If firstly you can't get him to stop crying, and if you can't get him to stop crying, then don't tell Nabi Sallallahu every time, because now Nabi Sallallahu is becoming annoyed. So sometimes somebody does something maybe wrong or something, you won't tell the person in authority, you won't tell the parent or something, because you don't want to hurt them or you don't want to inconvenience them or something. So this is what Aisha Siddiqa is saying here. She's saying, Lam tatruk Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, see first he's saying, Argham Allah answered. Argham Allah means like, may Allah Ta'ala make your nose sandy, which is just a Arabic expression to say like what you're doing, like, you know. Firstly, lam taf'al ma amaraka Rasulullah. You were unable to do what Rasulullah done, instructed you to do. You are unable to execute his command. First mistake. Then if you couldn't do that, then at least don't inconvenience the Nabi by coming to give him the negative information every time. You understand what I'm saying? Then leave it then. You were unable to execute his order. You were unable to stop these people from doing this. Then don't come carry the story every time to Rasulullah because you are inconveniencing Rasulullah. So lam taf'al ma amaraka Rasulullah. Walam tatruk Rasulullah min al-ana, and you never leave him from this inconvenience. So you are like inconveniencing every time. If you couldn't execute the order, they don't come and give him the negative information. So read the next riwayat.
وعن ام سلمة رضي الله عنها قالت لما مات ابو سلمة كنت غريب وفي ارض غربة لأتينه بكاء يتحدث عنه فكنت قد تهيأت بالبكاء عليه إذ أقبلت المرأة تريد أن تسعدني فاستقبلها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأنا أمي سلمة. أمي سلمة was a famous Sahabiya, also husband Abu Salma. قالت لما مات أبو سلمة, when Abu Salma passed away, قلت غريب, that he left Makkah al-Mukarramah, he is in a strange land, وفي أرض غربة, like he's a stranger here, his family is all in Makkah, وفي أرض غربة, and he is in a strange land also. So it makes his death all the more sadder. So he's saying, لَأَبْكَيَنَّهُ, I will cry for him, buka'an, such a crying, يُتَحَدَّثُ عَنْهُ, that people speak, yo, when this woman's husband passed away, she really honored him by mourning him severely. She really honored him by mourning him severely, right? فكنت قد تهيأت للبكاء. So I prepared myself now. See what I was telling you? What I was telling you? That one is a naturally tab'i cry, but here she's preparing herself. Cry, you don't prepare yourself to cry. Cry is something which comes naturally. Crying is something which comes naturally. So she wasn't preparing herself here for now the natural grief of losing her husband. She was preparing herself for what? When you prepare yourself, when you put up a performance, when you want to put up a show. So that is the one that is mazmum. That is the one that is right. قد تهيأت للبكاء عليهم إذ أقبلت امرأة, when another woman also came, تريد أن تسعدني, she was going to assist me to put up this big performance, crying performance. فاستقبلها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, then رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم face فقال أتريدين أن تدخلي الشيطان بيتا أخرج الله منه مرتين, do you want to enter, do you want to bring shaitan into a house which Allah Ta'ala has removed it, يعني remove shaitan from it 2 times. وكففت عن البكاء, so then I desisted from this false pretense of crying, right? فلم أبكي, and I did not cry. رواه مسلم, Imam Muslim narrates this particular riwayat. So the hadith is pretty simple. It reinforces what we've been saying all along. I tell you, gharib, normally gharib means a traveler. So here in this context, what she meant is that like he was from Makkah, he's living in a strange land, he don't have family, although he has Nabi Sallallahu and the Sahaba Ikram. So it's also normally said when a person passes away, far away from his people, far away from his hometown. That's why there's virtue for passing away from your hometown also. Isn't there a hadith, maybe you'll come across it to say, when you pass away from your hometown, and from the place where you are buried till your hometown, Allah Ta'ala will expand your qabr and you make your qabr so wide. So interesting fact as Abu Sama passed away in 4th Hijri. So she was saying, يتحدث عنه, I will cry such a crying, put up such a performance that people will speak about it, right? And one Ansari woman also wanted to come and help me because this was the custom. The Nabi Sallallahu said, now why do you want to go back to Jahiliyyah? Why do you want to, firstly, Allah Ta'ala remove the shaitan from this house when your husband accepted Islam and he became a Muslim? Secondly, when your husband passed away on Iman, then also the shaitan was removed from your house, right? So why do you want to bring shaitan back by bringing Jahiliyyah in? And as obedient as the Sahaba Ikram were, she accepted and then she abandoned this false crying, right? Read the next riwayat.
وجعلت أخته ترحمني بكيفي وجعل وهكذا وعدد عليه وقال إن أخاف لا أخفي شيئا إلا قيل لي إن قلت كذلك قال في رواية فلما مات لم تذكر بين رواه البخاري.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن النعمان بن بشير, رأينا أخبارك النعمان بن بشير, أغمي على عبد الله بن رواحة. عبد الله بن رواحة was unconscious, he fell unconscious. فجعلت أخته أمرة تبكي, his sister Amra, she started crying. وجبلاه كذا وكذا, what a mountain he was, and he was like this and like that. تؤدد عليه, so she was like enumerating all his good qualities, so to say. فقال حين أفاق, so he said when he came around, ما قلت شيئا إلا قيل لي أنت كذلك, that you never unduly praise me except it was said to me, أنت كذلك, are you really like this? Are you really a mountain in greatness? Are you really like this, like that, right? Zada fi riwayatin, and it's increased in one riwayat. Falamma mata, so eventually, because she was reprimanded and she was reproached to not to do this. So when he passed away, فلما مات لم تبكي عليه, she did not cry this false pretense, the false crying of Jahiliyyah. She heeded his advice. Read the next riwayat.
فيقول وجبناه وسيدناه نحو ذلك إلا وكل الله به ملكين يلهزانه ويقولان هكذا كنت. رواه الترمذي وقال هذا حديث غريب حسن.
Right. Narrating authority of Abu Musa, he said, I heard Rasul saying, ما من ميت يموت. No person passes away, right? No يموت. فيقوم فيقوم باكيهم. Then the people that cry stand فيقولوا, and they say, وجبلا, oh, this mountain of the great person, وسيدا, oh, this great leader that passed away, ونحو ذلك, and all of these type of undue praises. Remember, we said that you must اذكروا محاسن موتاكم. That when somebody passed away, remember him by all the positive things. That is a different story. That mashallah, he was a good person, he was kind, he was charitable, he used to really salah, he was in the first of. Not that he's speaking about. Here we're speaking about this excessive, what you call it, of ayyam jahiliyyah. That's right. You screaming, and he was a mountain, and that type of thing, right? Then, وَلَا إِلَّا وَكَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ مَلَكَيْنِ. Allah Ta'ala will appoint two angels, right? Allah Ta'ala appoints two angels that will يَلْهَزَانِهِ. They will they hit him on his chest and they say, وَيَقُولَانِ أَهَكَذَا كُنْتَ. Were you really like this? Especially that person was not a good person. And there's all this crying is a false pretense, right? رواه الترمذي وقال هذا حديث غريب. Imam Tirmidhi narrates this and he said this is a غريب hadith. Carry on and read the next one.
والمسكين عليه فقام عمر ينهاهن وينقذهن وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم دعهن يا عمر إن العين الجامعة والقلب مصاب والعهد قريب. رواه أحمد المسلمين.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وأنا أبي هريرة, narrating the authority of Abu Hurairah, قال مات ميت من آل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Somebody passed away from the family of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. فاجتمع النساء يبكين عليه. So the women gathered to cry. فقام عمر, as Umar stood up, ينهاهن, right? He wanted to prohibit them. ويطردهن, and he wanted to repel them, chase them away. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم said, دعهن يا عمر, leave them, O Umar. فإن العين دامئة, verily the eyes are tearing. والقلب مصاب, and the heart has been afflicted. والأهد قريب, and the time is still close. Raw Ahmad wa Nasa'i, Imam Ahmad and Imam Nasa'i narrates this riwayat. Now look at me just 1 second, look at me. You see, earlier there were hadiths that said that when the women were crying, Nabi Sallam said, Inha hunna, stop them from crying, stop them from crying. But here when Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to stop the family of Rasulullah from crying, what Nabi Sallam said, no, look here, the eyes is going to tear, and the heart is also been afflicted by some difficulty, and it's still close now. So leave them. How do you reconcile between each? If you got some idea, tell me how you can reconcile between the outwardly contradictory hadith. How would you reconcile between the hadith? Huh? Right, mashallah, very good. The one way Nabi Sallallahu said, stop them, that was the one of Jahiliyyah, where you force your cry out, you do it as a pretense, you do it. And this was here maybe the natural tabai grief that a person experiences. You know, taban. That, remember, we told you several times that Sharia is not against that. The national crying, the national grief, the natural tears that flow. That Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam actually explains as a rahmat that it helps you. It's a rahmat. I understand this in two ways. I don't know. It's my own explanation. If it makes sense, you can accept it. If it doesn't make sense, you can reject it. It's a rahmat in the sense that Allah Ta'ala put mercy in your heart to feel grief, because some people, when they experience something negative, they don't feel grief. That's one way it's a rahmat. And another way it's a rahmat also is normally when you're experiencing some difficulty and when you cry and you let go, it helps you to cope with that instead of bottling it up. And so I'm saying, anyway, read the next riwayat.
عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال ماتت زينب بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فبكت النساء فجعل عمر يضربهن بصوته فأخره رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيده وقال مهلا يا عمر ثم قال إياكم ونعيق الشيطان ثم قال إنه مهما كان من العين ومن القلب فمن الله عز وجل ومن الرحمة وما كان من اليد ومن اللسان ومن الشيطان رواه أحمد.
Yeah, see that same thing what I was telling you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One Ibn Abbas narrated on the Talib Abbas radiallahu anhu, Matat Zainabu bintu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That Zainab, the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, passed away. فبكت النساء, so the women were crying. فجعل عمر يضربهن بصوت, as Umar was whacking them with his whip. فأخره رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيده. So Nabi indicated them shouldn't do that. مهلا يا عمر, take it easy عمر. ثم قال إياكن ونعيق الشيطان, that إياكن, you female should be إياكن, yeah, إياك إياكما إياكم إياكي إياكما إياكن, right? You female should be careful about نعيق الشيطان, the crying out of the shaitan. ثم قال إنه مهما كان من العين ومن القلب. So then Nabi Sallallahu said, that which comes out from the eyes and from the heart. So the natural grief that you comes out from your eyes, from your heart, فَمِنَ Allah, it is from Allah Ta'ala Azza wa Jalla. وَمِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ, and it's a rahmah, like I'll explain to you. وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْيَدِ, and that which is from the hands, like beating yourself up. Remember that he said, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ حَلَقَ وَخَرَقَ, was it مِنَ حَلَقَ وَخَرَقَ وَخَلَقَ. So that means, you're beating yourself, clapping like how the Shias do, you know. They do matam, they slap themselves, they whack themselves with chains, right? فَمِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ, that is from shaitan. Read the next hadith. Inshallah, you will do Bukhari next year if you start around. Ismail, you'll be around, or by that time you'll be gone already. Because as a days ago, you're coming later. ما قلت لك ويأتي يوما ويغيب ثلاثة أيام. هل قلت لك هذا؟ هل صدقته؟ ما شاء الله. صدقته. Right. So you'll do inshallah. Sometimes Imam Bukhari bring a mu'allaq riwayat. Mu'allaq riwayat means he bring a riwayat without the chain of narrators. And normally you bring that in the Tarjamatul Bab as a proof. You see the unique thing. Look at me 1 second. In Bukhari Shareef, what Imam Bukhari, that's why they say, Fiqhul Bukhari fi tarajimihi. He's got all the hadith. And in the beginning, his heading, that is what his understanding of all the hadith are. You understand what I'm saying? So what he's understood from the hadith, that he put it in the Tarjamat al-Bab. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes we don't agree with him because he wasn't a jurist. Yes, he was a master in collating and gathering all the most authentic hadith. That we give him his due. That he was very particular. You know, he made sure that the ruwat were of the best nature and that each one met the next one, etc. That's a difference between Bukhari and Muslim. In Bukhari Sharif, you wouldn't bring a riwayat until it was confirmed that each rawi met the next person, not that they just lived in the same time. Myanmar Muslims say so long as they lived in the same time, and even if it's not proven they met each other, that's good enough. But Imam Bukhari said, no, you must have proof that they met each other. It must be proven amongst the ulama. So that's why his standard is much more higher. So Imam Bukhari, his ta'liq riwayats is where he bring a riwayat without a chain of narration. Now, normally the ta'liq riwayat, he bring it in his tarjamatul bab, like the heading, and that is what he understand from the hadith. So sometimes he expresses his understanding of the hadith in a mu'allaq riwayat as well. You understand what I'm saying? There is a fiqh al-Bukhari fi tarajimihi. The fiqh, the jurisprudence of Bukhari is in the what? It is in the tarjamatul bab. So he says, لما مات الحسن بن الحسن بن علي. When Hassan ibn Ali, that means the great grandchild of Nabi Sallam, passed away. ضربت امرأته القبة على قبره. Right? His wife erected a tent upon the qabr, سنة for 1 year. ثم رفعت, then she raised it. فسمعت صائحا يقول, she heard somebody calling out saying, ألا هل وجوا ما فقدوا. This, by doing this, by putting the, what you call it, the tent on, هل وجدوا ما فقدوا, did they find what they lost? In other words, did the tent help them in any way, right? فأجاب آخر. So this was like a voice from the heavens. بل يئسوا. No, they never find what they were looking for. In other words, the tent never availed them anyway. فانقلبوا, so they left. I told you it was a very Islamic custom that they would put a tent on the grave. Even today, you go India, Durban. You went to Durban in time of man. You know, 45 cuttings, or they put chadars, like sheets on the graves and all that type of thing, right? They say there's a poem from إلى الحول ثم اسم السلام عليكما ومن يبكي حولا كاملا فقد استعذر. That person who cries is a whole year. ومن يبكي حولا كاملا فقد استعذر. His excuse is fulfill the right of the deceased, etc. So what we're saying is that doing all these funny things, putting sheets over, or putting tents over, or doing all these type of things, it does not help the deceased in any way. It does not help the deceased in any way. Yes, rather take that same money, give it in charity. Rather take the same money, give it in charity, make a sadaqatul jariyah on the deceased, etc. Feed some poor person, etc., etc. That will assist the deceased. Okay, the next one.
وعن عمران بن حسين وابي برزة رضي الله عنها قال خرجنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في جنازة
في جنازة, right?
في جنازة فرأى قوما قد طرحوا أرديتهم يمشون في خلف وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن فعلوا الجاهلية تأخذون أو بصناع الجاهلية يشبهون.
Yeah. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن عمران بن حسين درجنا آثارك عمران بن حسين وأبي برزة أن أبو برزة قال خرجنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في جنازة. We once went with Rasul in a janaza. فرأى قوم قد طرحوا أرديتهم. We saw people that they removed طرحوا, right? They removed أرديتهم, رداء, the chadars. Chadar refer to the upper garment, right? يمشون في قمص, they were walking only like with the shirts. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أبي فعل الجاهلية, are people reverting to the actions of jahiliyyah, right? تأخذون, you are taking, أو بصنيع الجاهلية, or is with the actions of jahiliyyah, tashabbahuna, that you are emulating. لقد هممت أن أدعو عليكم دعوة ترجعون في غير صوركم. I'm so annoyed that you people are reverting to the acts of Jahiliyyah, that I want to make a dua upon you, such a dua, ترجعون في غير صوركم, that you are returning besides the form you went. In other words, Allah Ta'ala will punish you, such a punishment. فأخذوا أرديتهم ولم يعودوا لذلك. Then they took their upper garments and did not return to doing these funny things, right? So one explanation is you rolled up your upper garment and you put it over your neck, something like that. Also, is mentioned here. You like you roll your garment up and you let it rest on your shoulders. Like how sometimes, I don't know if you see, I don't know, you see sometimes ihram. You know, sometimes you're feeling very hot. What do men do, Lukman? They take the thing and they just put over the shoulders and they drape it over the shoulders when they're feeling very hot. You saw that. Something like that also. Akbar Nazim is here. So Nabi Sallallahu became very, very, very much annoyed. And in the what he done is, he said, I'm so unhappy with this that I make this dua that you get maskh, like your form changes because of you reverting to Ayyam Jahiliyyah. Even remember that time when Abu Zar al-Ghafari said to his slave, Yabna Sauda, O son of a black man. So Nabi Sallallahu said, what he said, Afikum, what's it? Have you got Jahiliyyah in you still? أنت مرض في الجاهلية. Have you still got the characteristics and the traits of Jahiliyyah in you? So annoyed Nabi Sallallahu was. So similar here, Nabi Sallallahu was so annoyed when they were reverting to the acts of Jahiliyyah. Ibn Nazim is here. That's subhanallah.